Let's start the conversation today with the San Francisco 49ers, who have an enormous game this weekend. We all know there's more pressure on the Dallas Cowboys than the 49ers. We all know that the 49ers are a bona fide Super Bowl contender. They're one of the top 3 teams in the NFL. Some people would say they're the best team in football. Currently, I have them as the second best team in football. But when we're on this collision course for Sunday night with this heavyweight matchup between Dallas and San Francisco, the quarterback talk is going to be the biggest part of this conversation and the biggest part of the preview of this game. And when we look at Dak Prescott, we've done thousands of segments and thousands of shows debating, is Dak Prescott a franchise quarterback? Is Dak Prescott an elite quarterback? Is he a great quarterback? And I've been clear all throughout with my take on Dak Prescott. I think Dak is a good quarterback. I think Dak is a really, really, really good quarterback. But when push comes to shove in a big moment, when the clock is winding down, final 2-3 minutes of a game, and the lights are the brightest, and you're in a big-time postseason game, I don't believe Dak Prescott is going to get the job done. And you've seen that the last 2 years up against the San Francisco 49ers. So this is a big test, and this is a big prove-it type of moment for Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, where you don't win the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday night, and you don't punch your ticket to the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday night. But if you go out-duel the 49ers, then people are really going to start to take the Dallas Cowboys seriously. But on the other side, when you look at the 49ers, there's not a lot of flaws with this team. Even when you bring in a new defensive coordinator in Steve Wilks, you have a great defense for the 49ers, and we all know the type of player Nick Bosa is in the NFL. And you look at that offense, they're loaded with talent. With the offensive line anchored by Trent Williams, who's going to be a Hall of Famer. You have Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, a phenomenal 1-2 punch. You have a guy that could win the MVP this year in Christian McCaffrey, and I think he will most definitely, as long as he stays healthy, win the Offensive Player of the Year in the NFL. But the biggest question with the San Francisco 49ers the last few years is what's going on with their quarterback. And through the first 4 games of the season, there starts to be that feel that finally the San Francisco 49ers have found their guy in Brock Purdy. And let me just say this right out of the gate. I'm going to ask you the question right now. Is Brock Purdy right now more of a system quarterback, or is he a franchise quarterback? And my answer right now on the 5th day of October in the year of 2023 is that Brock Purdy is more of a system quarterback. Now, that doesn't come, in my opinion, in a negative way. You know, I'm not knocking down Brock Purdy. And I know when people say system quarterback, it kind of feels like you're taking a shot and you're praising more of the team around him than the individual quarterback play. But I just haven't seen enough of Brock Purdy yet. I know he's never lost a game in which he started and finished. That goes for something. But he's never played a full season yet in the NFL. And also, I hear Kyle Shanahan, and we'll play you the audio coming up in a bit, where he goes, oh, it's ridiculous to say that Brock Purdy's a system quarterback. Why is it? Because, Kyle, the last few years, you basically have told us with your actions that the quarterback doesn't matter. And it's more so your system. Because Kyle Shanahan is the guy that walks to the roulette table and he gets hot on a number, rides it for 3-4 spins, and then goes to the next number. And he thinks that it's his sharp and erudite ability that's going to ultimately reign supreme and is ultimately going to prevail. And look how much he has vacillated between different quarterbacks. You go make Jimmy G one of the highest paid quarterbacks ever. Then you want to give up on Jimmy G. You flirt with Kirk Cousins. You don't get your guy Kirk Cousins. All right, it's back to Jimmy G. Jimmy G can't complete the throw to Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl. Gets the ball batted down at the line of scrimmage by Chris Jones' big mitt. And the next thing you know, you go draft Trey Lance. And they moved mountains to go get Trey Lance. There was also the Nick Mullins chapter in San Francisco, too, where he thought he could win with Nick Mullins. And we barely even saw Trey Lance hit the football field. And Trey Lance then gets traded to the Dallas Cowboys. And now it's all about Brock Purdy rocking out with this Brock out and looking pretty awesome. But that's where we're at right now with the 49ers. And this is the flavor of the month for the San Francisco 49ers. So it's not that Brock Purdy one day can't become a franchise quarterback. It's not as if I'm saying Brock Purdy can't be a great quarterback one day, but right now, Kyle Shanahan is asking Brock Purdy to just manage the game. That's what he's doing. He's like a great point guard in basketball that isn't going to lead the league in scoring. But what he's going to do is be great at pulling in rebounds, pulling in assists, and also just playing to the system that you're in where you have Christian McCaffrey, who's on his way to being the offensive player of the year, maybe an MVP. You have the 1-2 punch of Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. You have one of the better tight ends in the National Football League in Kittle. And you have a phenomenal offensive line. So it's not me knocking down Brock Purdy. And there's some stats that suggest that he's going to be a phenomenal quarterback. Like right now, he's on pace to have the second most touchdowns in the league in terms of running the football. If you go back to last year and see who had the most rushing touchdowns, which was Jalen Hurts. His numbers right now, what he's on pace for, if this was last year, he'd have the second most rushing touchdowns. If it was passing touchdowns, there would be 14 quarterbacks last year that would be in front of him, because right now he's on pace to toss 21 passing touchdowns. And he is on pace to go for a little over 4,300 yards, and that would put him in as a top 10 quarterback last year in terms of passing yards in the NFL. And there were 7 quarterbacks that had more passing yards last year than what Brock Purdy is on pace to do this year. So there's some numbers that say he has the potential to be a franchise quarterback. There's some numbers that suggest, Zach, you got to be fair and give him some individual credit as well. I'm not taking away from Brock Purdy. I'm not telling you that if it wasn't for Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy would be a bum. But I will say, if Brock Purdy was in New England right now with Kendrick Bourne and Juju Smith-Schuster and Mike Gesicki as his best options, are we even talking about Brock Purdy? No. If Brock Purdy swapped places with Daniel Jones right now, and he was on the Giants throwing a Jalen Hyatt. Oh, wait, they don't even use Jalen Hyatt, so I can't even say throwing a Jalen Hyatt. But if you look at the lack of weapons that the Giants have with Isaiah Hodgins, is Brock Purdy putting up these monster numbers? Probably not. And we talk about this all the time, and this is the inane part of the conversation. A quarterback has to be drafted in a good situation. And fortunately for Brock Purdy, being Mr. Irrelevant, he was drafted in a fantastic top 3 destination in the league. I just need to see more before I say that he could be the franchise guy. And I'll even look back to when Tom Brady first got into the league. When Tom Brady was winning Super Bowls early on in his career, did anyone say, oh yeah, Tom Brady is this elite quarterback in this league, is this franchise quarterback in this league? Or was it more so he was playing to a system? And then as his career did progress, Tom Brady was the system. And then Tom Brady put up these prodigious numbers. Look at what he did a few years later. After winning 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, he broke the most passing touchdowns in a single season, tossed for 50 at the time, had 23 to Randy Moss, and he put up historical numbers. And you saw Tom Brady then win MVPs more and more because he developed as a quarterback. And that's the thing that I think a lot of us forget in the NFL is when you're not the all-that quarterback coming out of college, you're not the top pick coming out of college, you're given more time to show if you could excel. And a lot of those quarterbacks that are drafted on later in the draft, they get better and better because they had a lot more work to do than some of the quote-unquote great quarterbacks and the quarterbacks that were deserving of being a top 5 pick in the NFL. So I don't think it's a knock on Brock Purdy right now to call him a system quarterback. Because if you're a 49ers fan and you win the Super Bowl this year, I don't care what you call Brock Purdy. System quarterback, franchise quarterback, it doesn't matter. But with what he's being asked to do right now, he has a situation to go win a Super Bowl. And the 49ers absolutely could go win a Super Bowl. So it doesn't matter if Zach Gelb right now views him as a system quarterback. It doesn't. Because one day, that system tag can be taken away, and through more time, he could be elevated into the conversation as a franchise quarterback that looks like an elite quarterback in the NFL. But right now, he's just simply getting asked to do a point guard type of role at the quarterback position, and he hasn't messed it up. And look at the no turnovers. That's enormous right now. So he is deserving of extolment. He is deserving of praise. But I don't look at Brock Purdy and say he's definitely the reason why the 49ers could be going to the Super Bowl this year. I look at guys like McCaffrey. I look at guys like Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, the offensive line around him. And Brock's in a perfect situation right now where you just have to be an above-average game manager. If you're an above-average game manager, you could definitely win the Super Bowl this year with the San Francisco 49ers because you're playing to the system that has an excellent offensive-minded coach in Kyle Shanahan and abundance of talented players on the offensive side of the ball, and also, more importantly, an abundance of talented players on the defensive side of the ball. So I know that this is a slippery slope here. And I know it's a conversation where then 49ers fans will hear me and they'll go, oh, this is just Gelb, right? This is Gelb hating on the 49ers, trashing our guy, Brock Purdy, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trashing Brock Purdy. I'm just telling you what I've seen so far is that he's playing to the system perfectly. And that's all you could ask for. That's all 49ers have hoped could happen, is be an above-average game manager to try to be the person that advances the ball across the goal line to bring that great organization back a Lombardi trophy. Let's hear from Kyle Shanahan, because he was perturbed with the media for asking if Brock Purdy is a system quarterback or a franchise quarterback.
That's pretty ridiculous. You just got to watch the tape. I mean, he plays at a high level every time he's been out there. And he's done it in a lot of different situations versus a lot of different defenses, on the road, at home, in playoff games, when injured. You can't do all that stuff. He's been out there too long. It's on tape.
He's had a historical start to his career. We're now talking about, 5 games in the regular season last year, 2 in the postseason last year, and now 4 in the regular season, where in games that he started and finished, he has not lost. That's tremendous. He has completed the assignment. He has understood the assignment. But my point is, I'm not ready to say that this is a franchise quarterback, this is an elite quarterback yet, because I still think he's going to get so much better. And part of that is you need to get off to a good head start being in a great system. And say what you want about Shanahan and him not being able to win a big game yet, right? Talking about a Super Bowl as a head coach or as an offensive coordinator. But Kyle Shanahan puts his quarterback in a good situation. And so far, Jimmy G looked like he was taking him there, then fell flat on his face. Trey Lance really wasn't given the opportunity. Whatever happened behind the scenes fell flat on his face. Purdy, to his credit, has taken the baton, and he's run with it. And if he could keep up playing this way, then they're going to definitely be a team that's going to be in it right at the end of the year and maybe hoisting the Lombardi trophy. But I don't think it's a knock right now to say that he's a system quarterback, because this is what Kyle Shanahan has designed. And if he is a franchise quarterback, then 4 or 5 years from now, he'll go out there and he'll show you that, and he'll get better and better and better, and then there will be more individual praise for Brock Purdy. So do you view Brock Purdy right now as more of a system QB or a franchise QB? That's the poll question today. You can find it at CBS Sports Radio or at Zach Gelb. Early returns right now, 73.3% say system quarterback, 26.7% say franchise QB.